is Jean, and I'm a PhD candidate in the Rubenstein School, and thank you all for being here today, and I'm excited to share one aspect of my dissertation research, which is agricultural carbon projects. Where are the mamas? And the mamas are basically a blanket term for women in Kenya. So what are agricultural carbon projects? They're basically projects that are designed to address the global need for climate mitigation as well as the need for food security. They promote a wide range of sustainable land management practices ranging from agroforestry to crop rotation to no-tillage. However, whether or not farmers are able to participate and benefit from these projects is still unknown, and this is especially a big unknown for women who often can't participate in or benefit from these projects because of entrenched cultural norms. So to understand whether or not women in Kenya are able to participate in these projects and how that may be different from men or women, I partnered with the Kenyan Agricultural Carbon Project in Western Kenya to identify some of these different barriers and benefits. So there were a lot of really interesting results, and I just want to highlight a couple of them that really draw out some of these nuances between the two genders. The first one is the barriers to adoption. So both men and women talked about land availability as a barrier to adoption. For men, it was primarily our land is not big enough. So the men perceived as them not having large enough areas of land to experiment these practices or to adopt them. Women, in contrast, when they talk about land availability, were primarily referring to the fact that they had to ask for permission from the man. So they either had to ask the man before they could implement the practices or ask the man whether or not they could go to training, because men are traditionally the head of household that make most of the decisions. Another key barrier was the idea of labor. For men, they said this is heavy work. They perceive practices such as terracing and composting to take a lot of time or take a lot of labor. And for women, they often said we have no time. So they were very willing to adopt these practices, but they didn't have the time to because they had childcare duties or other household duties such as gathering firewood. So what are some main benefits? Both men and women talked about this increase in crop productivity. Most of them said there is now enough ugali, which is a basic staple food for them, and this benefited both men and women. Women no longer had to ask men for money to buy food, and men were happy because they had more money to spend. In terms of benefit of adoption, there was also enterprise income. So both men and women said that they had increased income from enterprises, and for women in particular, this was really important because their enterprises such as poultry keeping or kitchen gardens generated small money, which then they could use at their discretion to buy household goods or to pay for school fees. So what I think is really interesting to highlight here is the fact that women felt more empowered, and this empowerment was due to the increases in income from these enterprises. In addition, for women who adopted these practices on the farm and for men who saw increased crop productivity, they said, we listen to them now. So they allow the women to make more decisions, they allow the women to go to training, all would result in more women empowerment. So what does this mean for projects as we move forward, as we continue to try to think about whether or not they can deliver these objectives of climate mitigation and food security? Well, one is understanding the reasons behind these barriers is really key. Understanding why men think the way they do and why women think the way they do will be really key to addressing their participation. And also focusing on non-agriculture related practices, but still on-farm practices is really important for leading to women deriving more benefits because they derive a lot of these benefits from enterprise development. So if you would like to hear more, I would be happy to share more, and thank you very much for your time.